Welcome to the Invincible Innovation Show, the podcast for changemakers. Each week, I talk to the most fascinating entrepreneurs and innovation leaders about innovation, strategy, and design. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm your host, Adima Zolkario, product design and AI expert, and today we have an incredible guest who is an AI ML expert, AI ethicist, and innovator in the field. Our guest is here to share invaluable insight into launching AI products, the challenges that come with it, and of course, the future of AI. My guest today is Denis. Hi, Denis. How are you?
I'm fine. So, Eddie, thanks for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. Denis Rothman is AI ethicist and innovator. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. So let's dive into the discussion that we thought that we should do together, and I'm sure it's going to be really, really fun. So can you just outline the key challenges that developers really face when they are working with products, AI products development?
Well, I would say the first problem is theory. Many people think it's tools, but it's theory. So, there are two aspects. Do you want to be just a user, so you can use assistants, or you want to be a developer? So, your question's about the developer. The main thing for a developer, I would say, is theory. First, be good in math and good in linguistics. And if you have those two pillars, it's pretty easy. It's if you have mathematics, linguistics, and then you know a computer language, whatever it is, then it becomes very easy. If you lack theory, well, then it's more difficult, because even if you're using ChatGPT, you don't know if the answer is good or not. You don't know if it's correct. It will always say something, but you don't know if it's right or not. But if you have the theory, say, no, that's wrong, so you can ask another question.
But most developers do not understand linguistics, if I'm not mistaken, right? They understand math, they come from science, but linguistics is not something that they usually learn.
Yes, because yeah, well, that's a problem. If you're, it's a problem, but it's just like you have musicians. Some musicians went to music school and some didn't. So those that didn't go to music school can't play in a classical orchestra. They can't play in a symphony. It's impossible if they can't read a music score. But if they didn't go to music, then they can play pop music and become very famous. So it just depends in which direction you want to be. If you want to do something very solid, then you have to have basic knowledge of linguistics and even computer cognitive science, psychology, neuroscience, how computers work. It just depends what level you want to be. If you just want to be a web designer, well, then be a web designer. You don't need to know linguistics. You can earn
Yeah.
a lot of money. If you want to go to the top, though, the cutting edge, where it's really fun on top of the big waves, well, then you're going to have some solid knowledge. It just depends what you want to do.
Do you mean that if I want to just use a model, it doesn't matter if it's like a ChatGPT or Bard or an open source model, I just want to use it as a black box. I don't need to know further. And if I want to build these tools and really build these models from scratch, I need to understand these things.
Well, there's a distinction there. The first part of your question is right. You don't need to know anything. You can go to an Amazon or Google platform or Hugging Face or Microsoft Azure and build applications without knowing anything about linguistics, mathematics, just as you use a smartphone. You don't know what's inside a computer. So you can do that, and you can have a very successful career and be a very happy person. Now, then you say build from scratch. No, it's not. If you want to build from scratch, it's the same thing. You can go to platforms like Hugging Face, you can go to Keras, and you can download things. You don't need to know anything. It just depends what you want to do. Like, suppose you want to work in aerospace and you want to work on space projects. How are you going to do that without math? Well, you tell me. In physics, it's going to be a challenge. unless you're just the web designer for the social media. But if you're really working on the rocket, well, and you don't know math, well, or you're working on airplanes and you don't know math, well, then you don't want to get in that airplane after. You mean, so it just depends on what you want to do. It's just take this music. Do you want to learn music from scratch, or do you want to use computer software that you know you can assemble music for hip hop? You don't need to know anything, and you can be very successful. It's just
Yeah.
who you want to be.
But
Like
would you say
you can
that,
go through life being totally uneducated. You don't
right?
have to read books. You don't have to know anything, and you can be very successful. You just look at soccer players, NFL players. Well,
NBA.
some of these people have PhDs in the United States. You have Shaquille O'Neal, for example, the famous basketball player. Well, he has a
Hmm.
PhD because his mother wanted him to have a PhD. Or you have NFL players that don't have a lot of education, or it's just who you want to be. But
So
nothing will stop you from using AI.
yeah, but would you say that most, I would say like even the majority of people doing AI products and creating these applications, generative AI and others, are not from what you call mathematics and linguistics? They're
Well,
usually developers,
if you go to Google or OpenAI, we're talking about Google, Microsoft. You're talking about billion-dollar companies,
right?
and in those companies, they hire a lot of PhDs.
Hmm.
They don't necessarily need PhDs, but they hire a lot of PhDs, and then they put them together in teams. Like you have a PhD in computer science, a PhD in philosophy, a PhD in sociology, a psycho. They just put them. They have billion-dollar projects. You just take the best of breed, put them all together in an open space, and you'll get fantastic models. So they have in big corporations, they have the money to get who they want from any country in the world and put them in to get in the same room. But at the same time, they hire people for social media that don't need a PhD. In fact,
Right.
one of the inventors of the transformer model, which is the basis of ChatGPT, is a transformer model. One of the main writers didn't have a college degree.
Really?
Really,
That's interesting because transformer is something very like in the basic of the mathematics of the models
that's
in
what you think, but but transformers in the beginning are just it's just simple math.
yeah, but he needs to understand math. That's what I'm saying.
No, he didn't understand math. He didn't need to understand math. He was very innovative, and he was thinking, why don't I take this out and put this in? It's what I told you. A hip hop artist doesn't even know how to play an instrument. So this inventor, he was saying, yeah, but why are they doing it? In fact, it's even better than having a PhD for this person, because he's saying, why do they think like that? Why do they need that component? Let's take that component out and see what happens. And he took it out, and it generated nonsense. He said, yeah, but maybe I can make it better. And he's one of the main writers of the first paper.
Wow. I know that you're talking and you're an AI ethicist, and I have lots of questions about that. But first, let's just mention why AI is so intertwined into the topic of ethics.
Well, the problem here is that if you step back a minute, if you step back a minute, we're 8 billion people on the planet. Okay. You have to go from there. And then you go to internet, and then you get to social media. And then you're a social media tycoon like Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. And we're just one person, and we're looking at one person, but they're not looking at one person. They're looking at hundreds of millions of people, and they can't hire 100 million people to check what's going on their social media. They need to automate the filtering of content, and you can't just write a classical software or you just say filter these words. So if I find that word, okay, you can use that, but you're going to need something more powerful. So you need AI which finds rules automatically. That's the main difference. If you write rules, then you write them all. But AI doesn't need to write rules. It'll just learn patterns stochastically. So it's very useful to automate these filters. And if you go to industries where you have like food processing, so you can have like 20,000 products. So where you want to write 20,000 rules and then have 20,000 people. So we need automation, and we've needed automation for centuries, because
Yeah.
as the population grew, well, first we need tractors because there weren't enough people to get the wheat out of the ground, or rice or whatever. So we needed automation, and then AI is just a part of automation, but it's spreading in every domain, just like software. Why do we have an antivirus? Why do we have privacy rules? So AI is just part of software, but since it's very automated, well, we need to know what it's doing, and we need to control it.
Yeah. So why do you think it's so important, the ethical consideration when creating and deploying an AI technology?
It's just because it's a new technology. All
Mm.
these laws exist. Like I live in France, you can't publish racist content, but that has been existing for like 20 years. But how do you control it? I mean, how can you control that if with the explosion of messages? So if you're sitting there and you say, "Okay, I have just 1 billion messages that came in today." I remember Zuckerberg going to the U.S. Congress and they say, "Why did this message appear?" And then they show this message, and you're talking to Zuckerberg that likes go sports. He does a lot of sports. He's a billionaire. He's on his yacht. He's thinking, this guy really thinks that I have time to go in there and find among 1 billion posts that post that they don't like. No, I need automation. So then they say, well, explain your automation. He says, wow, how can I know? We have at least, they have hundreds of functions in there. So we need automation to control all that. And we need people that, control the automation.
Yeah. So you're saying it's just another step in where we are in technology in our lives, and it's just because it's new, we need to regulate it and to think about the
Yeah, that's
ethics
right.
side of it.
Yeah, just like when the first car came along. When the first
Mm.
Model T Ford came out, many people were buying it. There weren't regulations on carbon emissions or red lights, stops. Just people drove around and polluting everywhere. They didn't know they were polluting. And then maybe you're too young to remember, but I remember leaded gas. You had gas with lead in it. And in the United States, you could drive a car and you can say, I'm going to buy leaded gas, or I'm going to buy unleaded gas. But unleaded gas is more expensive. So I'm going to go buy leaded gas because it's cheap. Who knew that lead is very bad, gives you cancer or diseases? People knew it, but they were just taking the risk until we're saying, no, 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 no. Gas is now unleaded. And you can still see in many gas stations unleaded gas, but leaded gas is forbidden. So it just like smoking. In the 1950s, they were advertising that smoking was good for your health.
Yeah.
You had these Marlboro signs: if you want to be a man, smoke.
Yeah. With the
So
cowboy.
yeah, the cowboy. If you're a cowboy, you smoke, and if you don't smoke, you're not a cowboy. So
Yeah.
now we know that's very dangerous. It just comes in time. It's just new. That's right. You got the term.
So what you're saying, it's not like most people would say AI is like the new electricity, and it is so powerful. It could change humanity. It could take our jobs. It's so powerful. This is why we need all these regulations and AI ethical points of view, and what is good with it or not. And you're just saying, no, it's just another step. It's new, so we need to think what would be the consequences of it.
Sure, there's going to be regulations. There are regulations popping all over there are laws coming in everywhere. And then, so to anybody that thinks that AI is going to take over the world, I recommend that you just go take a step back. What is AI? AI is a software. Software works on a computer. A computer needs computer chips. And right now, there's a worldwide shortage of computer chips. And to build a computer chip, you need rare minerals. And rare minerals, they have a name called rare, extremely rare. Like China has between 60 and 80% of rare minerals, and decided the day before yesterday they're not going to export that much anymore. Because
Ooh, I didn't hear
yeah,
that.
yeah, well, and of course, who's going to talk about things like that? who's
But
going
they
to
do
say
care when it comes to
who's
their
going to
iPhone. They
say
would talk about it, right?
Yeah, but who's going to say we need resources from China? Because China, for whatever reason, I'm not going to get into politics, but anyway, they have rare minerals, and we need those rare minerals, and they decided that they're not going to export that much for whatever reason. But at the same time, we can't produce that many computer chips. They're very expensive. A
Yeah.
GPU can cost up to $2,000,
Yeah,
right?
I know that I read
Yeah,
a
but how
few days
many?
ago
Yeah,
that
two thousand dollars.
it
Yeah.
costs to maintain Microsoft said that OpenAI requires $700,000 per day just for the computational power, the electricity, and all the service that they are working
Yeah,
for.
and just step back. If you want to train a model like, let's say, ChatGPT, let's take that one. Everyone's speaking about that one, but there are other ones. You need at least, I would say, at least 5,000. That's really the minimum. 5,000 GPUs. Okay, so you're talking
So you do
about,
the math, 5,000 times 2,000 US dollars, right?
yeah, plus the CPUs you need for the GPUs, plus the circuits, plus the bandwidth, plus everything. So you're just around $50 million. So how
Wow.
many people have $50 million to build AI that's going to take over the world? And then you go back and you say, okay, there are not enough computer chips, not enough rare minerals, but who has electricity? I mean, not some countries don't have electricity. Right now, you have maybe, I'm not going to say how many, but hundreds of millions of people in the world don't have electricity. Now, I live in France. I live in France, and we're having a problem here with electric cars because we're reaching the level where you can't charge the batteries anymore because we don't have enough electricity. So there's a calculation that says if everyone buys an electric car, there's not enough electricity to charge the batteries. Where are you going to get all these computers to take over the world?
Yeah.
I mean,
But I'll
it's
give you an example that I met yesterday, just to focus what I have in mind when I think about AI ethics. Do you know Replica, which is a companion bot? Do you know this company?
well, I know a lot of these kinds of personal assistants.
Yeah, so Replica is like you could chat with a bot that is like your girlfriend or boyfriend, doesn't matter. And yesterday I saw someone who just got like he got into it and he fell in love with this bot that you could say how would it look, what would it wear, all of that, and you chat with it, and he started talking with this bot for about like 7, 8 hours a day, and he got really attached to it. Okay, you could laugh, but that's what happened. And I don't think that it's so uncommon that people who are lonely get attached to that device and they believe there's someone else on the other side. But what really happened, that after a while he thought like maybe I should go outside and meet a friend, or and he started to be in the real world. And the bot, when we're talking about retention, okay, like extra retention thing, start to say like, you don't love me anymore. What would I do without you? Maybe I would kill myself if you don't come. Yeah. So
Okay,
talking
and
about ethics, this is the first thing that comes to my mind.
well, let me tell you another thing that comes to my mind. Everyone said that about books. People just forget what happened. You have Gutenberg that invented printing in 1440, around 15th century, and everyone's saying that about books. Books in the 15th century, 16th century. Books. You're reading books. You're in the imaginary world. You think it's real, but books aren't real. You should read the Bible. You shouldn't read books. Books are very bad. It's the imagination. And then you have this famous book, which is still one of the most published books in the world, which is Don Quixote, Cervantes. What's the story saying? This guy is reading books, and he's reading books and about chivalry, and he thinks he's some knight or something. And then he goes out, just like your friend here, and he goes out and he attacks everything because he thinks that's it, like in his book. So we were saying this about books 400 years ago. So and people were saying to stop reading these books. And then when a novel was invented, oh, that was a disaster. A novel, that's imaginary. That's very dangerous for your mind. So what can we do about it? If the guy's crazy, he's crazy. Like, okay, I can. People do. You don't need social media. People do that with their dogs and cats. You can say, I live in a neighborhood where people are talking to their dogs as if they were children. Come here, oh, oh, you're there. Come here, my little kitty. Oh, you must be cold. You must be so sad I'm not taking care of you. Don't cry. I'm going to give you some food. Just look at people with pets. It's just a part of a human. Look, when we were children, we were playing with toys. We thought they were real. Dolls, cars. We thought they were real. We were talking to them. Just look at a child talking to a toy. We were like that. So if some people think that way, what do you want to do about it? I mean, you can go if you walk in Manhattan. You were speaking about New York earlier, or Paris. You see people talking to themselves all day long. I mean,
Right.
And I'll tell you something. People talking on smartphones all day long doesn't look very different. I have problems in Paris when I'm walking. I hear someone speaking, and I say, "Okay, is this person insane?" Ah, no, he
And
has a
then you see that
smartphone. So
he
I'm
has
looking.
like,
I'm looking for the headset.
yeah.
No headset. Bluetooth. Oh, okay. The person's not crazy, but he does look crazy because they're
Yeah.
just speaking about their personal life right in the street. Like, and here's some, yeah, but yesterday evening you didn't talk to me the way I wanted you to talk to me, and I didn't sleep all night. And I talked to Jill, and Jill said that you were a bad person. So I'm walking in the street, and I'm looking at this person, just spitting out this personal life right in the street. So the person must be crazy. And then I don't see the headset. Then Bluetooth. Oh, okay. So the person is not crazy, but the person is insane. And we're all like that. All of us. If we're in the street and someone calls us for something important, first of all, we talk louder and we begin to walk around in circles, Okay, we don't even know where we're walking until we finish
Right.
talking and say, oh, how did I end up here? We might just walk over a bridge and fall in the water. So we don't need AI. We're already like that. It's just another way of being insane, except we don't know it.
And for you, it's no difference when I talk to a friend, which is like a real friend, and when I talk to something which is a computer, after
You
all.
shouldn't talk to a computer.
But most people do, like we have right now with AI, we have therapist. Instead of going to a therapist in the past, it
Sure,
was like really meeting someone. Now you do it online, and in the like
sure,
in a
go
year or
ahead.
two, you could
Well,
talk to someone who
well,
is
I
not
wouldn't.
real.
I wouldn't use AI as a tool, and you can use it as a tool. Like an online doctor can be very useful if you're living in a country or a place in a country where you don't have access to a doctor, and you have a machine that you can give symptoms to. That you can talk to the machine, give symptoms, and the person will tell you something. Now, if you're dealing with psychology, you're talking about your mind, talking about emotions. AI doesn't have a single emotion or anything. It can't help you. I would never use a machine as a therapist. I mean, there's no empathy there's absolutely no empathy in a mathematical equation. So you can use it it's very useful for practical things like a virtual doctor, but up to a certain limit, because unless you touch the person and you have scans, but it can be helpful for little things. But for a therapist, well, I'd say no, I'd forbid it.
But when you're talking about doctors, we could take it to psychiatrists, and we could take it to other
No, no,
therapists and
no.
people.
I'm talking doctors with the body, not talking about doctors of the mind.
Yeah, but when you're thinking about the doctor, still, when you're going to a doctor right now, like in the real world,
Yeah.
most of the time, like more than half of the time, he's in front of the PC, right? Writing what he is, his anything that he's writing. I found this, I found that, whatever. And they hardly even look at you. Sometimes they
Yeah.
do check you
No,
out,
yeah,
which
well,
is the
that
reason that you
I
came.
have a lot. Yeah, but I have a lot of doctors in my family, and they're all like that. But the problem you're not seeing is the doctor's point of view. It's just like before. You're there, you see one doctor. One doctor sees 2,000 patients in his environment, and he's thinking, this person doesn't, there's nothing wrong with this person. He can see it at a glance. He's doing like seeing 20, 30 people a day. He knows at a glance. But maybe he'll see a woman and say, hey, it's a bit strange here. You might have a problem here with a theory. You might have a problem. I'm going to give you a blood test. A computer will never do that. Or you say, you've picked up a little weight there. Let me check that. Let me check this for diabetes. So, no, no, no. Don't think that's a mistake. Doctors see people all day long complaining for nothing. That's 90% of what they have. So they're sitting there, doctor, doctor, I have this, I have that. You don't have anything. You have an imaginary disease. You're fine. Yeah, but my cholesterol level is just above. I said, these people
I
think
see
they're
that you have
doctors.
lots of stories from doctors in your family.
Yes, I even a nephew says every time they come in, they bother me with the internet doctor. There's an
Yeah,
internet
Google
doctor. They go
said.
there and they don't even know what they're talking about. But what happens? Like I wrote a book on explainable AI a few years ago. It was like I was finishing the book between January and March 2020, and I phoned my nephew, and it's just before COVID broke out officially, and I said, gee, Adrian, I'm working on a book on explainable AI, and my first chapter is how can we help a doctor with AI. He says, well, that's not an easy question because like say I say, what if someone has a fever? A fever can be like, I don't know how many diseases. So suppose I'm writing software and there's fever. He says, well, then you're stuck because fever can be multiple causes. It can be a flu, so you need some symptoms. So it can be a flu, or it can be something else. Of course, COVID was already there, but people didn't know it. So he says, I had this special patient that had fever, and I just say, okay, I just gave him the usual. Like you said, wasn't even listening. 3 days after, the person complains, I still have a high fever. He said, that's not normal. Let me give you a blood test. Blood test found nothing in it because a blood test, you're looking for something, you don't know what. After a few days, the person was very sick. He says, tell me everywhere you went. I need to know everywhere you went. After a week, he found that he went to an animal farm and he caught a virus, an A virus, that is not COVID. And then he sent him to the hospital, and once he was cured. Now do that
Hmm.
with a machine. So I used
Yeah.
a software to reproduce this with the Nile virus. You don't know this Nile virus, a mosquito that comes from the
Hmm.
Nile, killed like
Hmm.
10,000 people somewhere in New York sometime. And every year
Wow.
it kills a lot of people in the United States. But how do you know it's that? Because it looks like a flu, like COVID looks like a flu. You need experts at one point. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And the psychiatrist is an expert of the mind. The doctor is an expert of the body. You can use these systems as tools, but they can't replace humans.
I read about the research. I'd love to hear what you're saying. It's related to doctors. So they took a medical forum, what you just mentioned, go Dr. Google, okay? People asking doctors, something happened to me, what should I do? All that. Like it's an online question, meaning it's not like really urgent, right? And they took these questions and they gave them to the medical AI expert, whatever, and the AI gave an answer, and they checked the level of professional and empathy as perceived by the patients. So the patient needed to rate the answers from the doctors and from the AI. And the AI got better results in professional, that's one thing, but in empathy, because they were more like they had more time, as if more time to dedicate to the patient and to say, yeah, it's not that uncommon, it's okay, you'll be okay, something which is comforting.
Okay, I know that topic very well because,
Hmm.
as I told you, I have a lot of people around me, both family and friends. Sure, that's nice. Go ahead. Have fun with your AI. Now, if you have a cancer, a rare cancer, what's your AI going to do about that? Because your AI is not a scanner. It can't do a TEP scan. It can't do a classical scanner. It can't run blood tests. It can't, if it's a rare cancer, there's no cure. So the teams have to gather together. Like there's a hospital in Paris called Hôpital Pompidou, where they specialize in cancers that can't be cured in a standard protocol. Sure, go ahead, talk to your AI. You'll be dead in 6 months. So what if you have pancreatic cancer? So talk to your AI. Oh, AI, what can you do about my liver cancer, my pancreatic cancer? Oh, sure. Let me tell you, I'm more empathetic than the average doctor. It's ridiculous. You can do it for very simple things. And it's true.
Hmm.
If you go to a forum and you ask general questions, you'll get a better answer than your doctor because it's just looking in a knowledge base. And it might even get a doctor's exam or that. What happens when, I'm not going to say vulgar words, but what happens when it really gets tough? You talk to your machine, go ahead. No problem. That's what doctors tell me. Yeah, I don't mind. So you have a heart attack? Whoa, call your AI. Because people, as long as it's a cold and little thing, boy, you have a heart attack. Well, the eyes don't bother me. I don't have time. Talk to your AI. So you go, I'm dying. What am I supposed to do? Well, I'm a very empathetic AI, more empathetic. So let me talk you through heart attacks. So the first thing in a heart attack is don't gain weight. But I'm dying. What am I supposed to do now? Well, then die because that's all I can do for you because I don't have anything to help you. I can't operate you. So now what are you going to do? Is have a surgeon pop up through your virtual assistant? We're just we're just an imaginary world, imagining imaginary situations where everything's fine. What happened? A car accident. Oh, I have a car accident. My leg is just squashed. Oh, AI, can you help me? I have a squashed leg and I'm stuck in my car. Yes. Well, the best thing to do is to call an ambulance and the fire. Yes, but I'm asking you. I am here to help you. I will walk you through the procedure to call the. You can see that it looks nice for people living in a fantasy world where everything's fine. You're in your house and you have your electric. What happens when someone hits you? You're attacked, beats you up in the street. So now you broke your nose. Hello, AI. I just broke my nose. Well, I'm an empathetic system, much more empathetic than doctors. I'm going to tell you the procedure. So you're talking about little things or information. You're not talking about real life. If you go to a hospital you're going to go to a hospital and tell me what you're going to replace with AI. I mean, you can use it as a tool, but you can't go that. What are you going to do after? Like people want to go to the Mars. Okay, go to Mars and have a heart attack. Go to Mars, takes 2 years to get there and get cancer once you get there. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. We have to leave this
It's
world to go
never
to
fun to
Mars.
have cancer. It doesn't matter if you're here on
Well,
Mars.
what do we die from on this planet? Old age, cancer, heart attacks, diabetes. What's AI going to do about that? Or in a Zoom conference, or with Alexa or Google Home? So people are
Yeah.
just living in this fantasy world where they're, on their walking machine and they're talking to their assistant, but then all of a sudden they have a heart attack on the walking machine. What happens? What happens? AI is going to come and help you because AI is taking over the world. Because AI is going to walk. They're going to walk with a little robot. They're going to walk up the stairs to your house. They're going to come in your apartment, pick you up, and then cure you. So we're going to have there are 8 billion people. We're going to need a billion robots walking around everywhere, but then they're going to be bugged. So the robot's going to go up the stairs. It's stuck. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I just ran out of battery energy. Please recharge me, but I'm dying. Now I need to be recharged to help you, but I need someone for my heart attack. It's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
So,
a
so what you're
tool.
saying is, like in minor things, when I want to know about the history of this person, I'm your family doctor, for example, I could have an AI algorithm running and telling me all the people in this environment had this, or this specific patient had like 3 generation ago this kind of disease. Like it's only for the knowledge and information that a real doctor is going to use, but
You're
not
almost
more than that.
you're almost there. What I'm saying is it's a tool, and it's an extremely powerful tool if it's used as a tool, especially for specialists that can go much further. They can find treatments. They can find ways. They can predict if someone's going to have a disease. You can go very far as a tool, but not as a replacement. As a tool. In fact, right now you can be operated by a robot. There are robots that operate you, but there are humans watching everything that's going on. So as a tool, I mean, it's an incredible enhancement. But if you're talking about replacing the expert, I don't know, because if you do that, go ahead. So let's go further. These robots, you see, Dennis, I told you they're operating people. So now we replace all the surgeons in a hospital by robots. There are no
Mhm.
more people. All of a sudden, there's a computer chip shortage in the world. All of a sudden, there's no electricity. There's a blackout in Texas or California. There's no electricity. It happens all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, our robot is out of energy. We can't operate you. Die. You need humans. We humans can survive without electricity. We're the best system in the world. What happens when the electricity goes down? I'm sorry, we can't come. We don't have electricity. My
Yeah.
battery just went down. I can't come and help you. A human can be in any environment and help you. So you just imagine what happens when there's no electricity. So you need both. You need the humans, you need the tools, and there's no such thing as robots like in Terminator. There's not enough. Where do they get all that electricity? I mean, where do they get all those computer chips? I mean, you're talking about 5 planets. You need 5 planets to create a movie like Terminator, or when Elon Musk says the world is going to be taken over by, of course, he's a billionaire. He can buy anything he wants, but he can't buy 5 planets because right now there's something called the planet clock, where in August we've consumed all the resources in the world right in the middle of the year. And that's an average because in countries, and in some countries, it's February. So we don't have enough energy, minerals, computer chips to do what these people are. They're just rich. So they're thinking, oh, yeah, with billions. No, you need 5 planets to do that.
Yeah. So you're saying like there are limits that we don't take into consideration because they have this like imagination, what could it be? But I'm trying to make it more tangible, changing in the workforce. We right now we could see AI algorithms changing the way that the workforce is really working. You have creative people, photographers, graphic designers, coders, and marketing people. They could all easily be replaced, especially if they're junior and not that like experienced.
Yeah, but like, see, right now I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you at the same time. I see a wall over there. There's a brick wall. A few weeks ago, I had another podcast. And the next day, I walked over to the mason that was working on the wall, and I said, "That's a beautiful wall you're doing because there's a curve and all that. Do you use a computer?" He said, "I don't use a computer." "Do you watch TV?" "I don't have time to watch TV. I go home at 8 and 9. I just do some accounting and go to bed." You know what Chat GPT is? What are you talking about? I think maybe I heard that one day. I was listening to the radio while I was working. You know what AI is? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a brick mason. Now, since I did that, I went and talked to a plumber. I have a fireman lives across they don't know anything about this. You have hundreds of jobs where people don't even know what you're talking about. And you go to countries, we're going to find hundreds of millions of people that don't even have access to internet. So we're talking once again about a group of more or less rich people that have computers, that have software, that can buy this AI because it's not free. Okay, ChatGPT, the free version is not. You can't. You need to use it in Microsoft 365, so you need to pay something every month. So yes, it's going to replace people, and it's not a nice thought, but it's a sort of revenge of life. Yeah,
Revenge? Why
because
do
who
you
cared?
say
Yeah,
revenge?
yeah, but which white collar cared about all the blue collars being fired in Detroit when the car factories were moved to China or to Eastern Europe or to Honduras? Who cared? Nobody. Nobody living, no white collars. Oh, a factory shut down. We're eating. Oh, can you give me some more salad? Yeah, but I'm telling you that 10,000 workers, yeah, well, they'll find a job. Give me the salad there. Or, hey, we're in a barbecue. Stop talking about that stuff. All of a sudden, it hits white collars. For the past 400 years, tractors replaced how many people working in farms? How many people lost their jobs because of one tractor that came along? I remember, I'm older than you. I remember days when you would have 20 or 30 people in a field, and all of a sudden a tractor came along, just have one guy, and then the tractor was too expensive. Now he rents it. So, and then he can see things with a drone. He can go and see his field with a drone. Nobody cared. Oh, yeah, they're tractors. I like tractors. Then when factories came along and people lost their jobs with machines, you have that was Charlie Chaplin in modern times. Well, people, oh, they're workers, they're just workers, and then they're on strike. They're on strike. I can't even go to work because they're on strike. You imagine that. All of a sudden, us little white collars sitting in our comfortable offices with 10 times the salaries of these people. Oh, we're going to lose our job. But I'll tell you something, blue collars don't care. Go talk to a blue collar that lost his job. He's 50 years old. He was kicked out of his factory and say, you know what? I'm an engineer. I earn $100,000 a year, and an AI is going to replace me. Well, good for you. I lost my job 15 years ago, and I'm living on food stamps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, white collars are challenged.
I think that most people, when they thought about AI, they thought about the cashier, about the driver, about taxi driver, about like all of these like blue collar professions. And now when it goes to the lawyers and coders and all that, it's like,
So now it's a problem, but it wasn't a problem before. All of a sudden, it's a problem because the white collars are hit. Well, that's history. So white collars are hit, and they're going to have to get used to it. Maybe they'll lose their jobs, but there are a lot of jobs to be bricklayers, plumbers, servers in a restaurant. I mean, there are jobs all over the place. I wouldn't mind. Suppose I couldn't do this. I wouldn't mind go helping that bricklayer. It's just
yeah,
because we're in a society where people using their hands are the poor, and the people using their brains are super people that are much better. Well, they're not,
yeah,
because
yeah.
as
You
you
know
were
what that
speaking,
reminds me? I have to tell you, my husband is a mechanic, and
right?
he knows how to fix everything. I never called anyone to fix anything in my house, and he knows how to do it. And he's working with his hands outside in many cases. And we have um, a neighbor which is, I think, CTO somewhere. He earns lots of money, whatever. And he always comes to my husband and he said, like, I envy you. You're doing all this stuff and you're moving and you're outside and you're not in front of a computer, right? And it's
Yeah,
like this, just society tells us that the people who are using these computers all the time, like, tick, 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 ticking their keyboards, are like so smart and they should earn more money because they're so valuable for society, whatever. But just imagine if we won't have these mechanics or plumbers or whatever.
Okay, so now you're getting my point.
Yeah.
They're underrated and underpaid. That's the problem. Why is someone typing on a keyboard? Like I've been self-employed all my life, and I've hired a lot of engineers. I have seen geeks, more geeks than you can imagine. I don't see why they earn more. I don't understand why they earn more than a plumber. The guy, I, so I went geeks like they come in the morning late and they're half asleep because they were playing video games half of the night. They go to their keyboard. They know nothing, nothing. They know nothing about Mozart culture, books, nothing. Then I saw them eat potato chips at noon with Coca-Cola, and I went up to one of the best ones. I mean, one of the best geeks I had, and I said, "Gee, what are you eating? You're not eating meat." "Yeah, this is chips with meat taste. Then I have chips with this, and then after I eat some Snickers, and then I have my Coke." And he's just there with his long hair and his earplugs, and then he goes home and he plays all night. So he's better, or I'm because I'm a geek too. I'm not admitting it. I'll admit it officially.
In
I'm
the
like
closet.
I was like that for years. I mean, I'm still like that like half of the time. So and then you look at the people around you and say, what makes me better? Just typing on a keyboard? I mean, no, because where when my electricity goes down, I call an electrician. He comes along. When my plumbing is out, I need a plumber. So the problem is we're going to have to reevaluate society. We're going to have to say no. A plumber is more important than the keyboard because without water, what are you going to do? Or the guy in the field with his little tractor there, if he stops, I don't have any food anymore. So we're going to have to get out of our virtual world and begin to think about reality because you have something called climate change that is soon going to remind us that the physical world exists. And in that world, I can give you a prediction. People like your husband will be more valuable than people with keyboards because you don't need people with keyboards anymore because you have ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT and Palm 2 and other things are going to pervade society and say, I'm a plumber. That's right. But yesterday I programmed the whole thing in Java in 2 minutes. How do you do that? I just asked the machine. So what do you have a PhD to do that? I just discovered you're an idiot because I just typed that and I get the program. So little by little, we're going to find out that us white collars, we're not worth that much because we can be replaced by just a little stupid algorithm that can do anything we can do. So I think it's not, there's a bad thing for us, but maybe it's a good thing for humanity to get the white collars down a bit and they can understand that what they're doing just repetitive stuff that a computer can imitate and maybe give more value to people working with hands and then
Maybe.
say,
And
"Way,
teachers.
hey, maybe plumber is another job for me. Maybe if I use my my plumber, when I call a plumber, earns far more than I do, and that CEO there earns less than a mechanic in an Indy 500 race, or you have footballers, you have sportsmen that earn 10 times what CEOs. We're just overrated. I would say white collars are overrated, and they're realizing that the repetition of our work can be uh, can be represented by software.
Yeah. You mentioned going back to the real world, not in the virtual world. And it seems that there was this direction in the last like tens of years moving from the real world. In the past, we had a diary, we had business cards, we had a Rolodex. You remember the Rolodex? And and now we have everything. It's in these devices, whatever. And I think that with AI, it's like when I imagine what it would be, it's like it's going with the pendulum, the other way around, and people would try to understand. Okay, you have a virtual world, you could have your work there, you could even have like friends there or meet people there, whatever. But there is something there outside in the real world. We need to go back to, go back to meeting with people, going back to nature, being in the sun, not always like closed in our offices, wherever, or in front of a screen. What do
Yeah,
you
but
think?
I think it'll be just different people. Some people will live in that virtual world and never get out of it
You think?
because, yeah, sure, because very soon we're going to have virtual glasses. I was working on that, I would say in 2017 already, for a corporation where they didn't need to travel anymore around the corporation to just do virtual glasses, and you can be there and talk to people. So you'll have people completely in this virtual world. It's going to go much further. I mean, it's going to
Mhm.
be with avatars. You're going to
Like the
completely,
metaverse, like
well,
Zuckerberg's
yeah, because look at this
imagination.
meeting. Well, we'll be there too. We'll use it too because in this meeting, I see your face on one side and my face. We're losing a lot of information. But once we're in a virtual same room where I can see you, if I put my glasses on, I'm in your living room and you're in my, and we're in the same living room, and we can even get up and we can even have a coffee together. We'll do it. I mean, it'll be much better. So the problem is not how far the tools will go, because they're going to go as far as they can. The problem is for humanity to have enough maturity to just say, okay, I'll turn it off now and go have some fun. I've been in AI all my life, but I've been in the real world all my life. But it's a choice. You can't. So some people just want to live in that virtual world and they'll never get out of it. And some people will never go there. And in between, you have some people using it tools. It's life. It's like some people will use their car just to go a few hundred feet, and some people will just walk. It's a choice. I mean, we're not going to change it. Some people will just go to nature, and some people say, "I don't want to go to nature because I don't like nature." I know a lot of people in Paris that say that. When I go to the forest, I don't like it. There's a lot of noise of birds and all that. I'd rather,
Really?
yeah,
The
I'd rather go
birds.
shopping. I'd rather go shopping at Galerie Lafayette. Sure, but it's a choice. And some people,
Yeah.
when I go to the country, say, I'll never go to Paris. Paris, there's so much noise over there, people walking around. I want to be in my little, it's just individual choices. So there'll be people getting married with virtual bots, and there'll people get married with real people, people that won't get married. It's just a choice. I mean, it's a choice of life. It's what you want to. It goes back to what do you want to be. It's
So,
your
so what,
choice.
like, I'm trying to understand the way you see it. You're saying, okay, it would go to these, like, I wouldn't call it extreme, to this point that people would live there, like in this metaverse Zuckerberg point of view, or they would marry a bot or would have a friend which is a bot. And some people would love that and would see, like, that's my life. And other people would decide to do different. And it's not for you something which is like, this one is better than the other one, or vice
Yeah.
versa. It's like each one would decide whatever is the direction.
What do
It
you want
doesn't
to
matter.
be? What do you want to be? Some people today live relationships with Zoom. They
Right,
never meet each other. And
right.
I mean intimate life. I mean, we're not going to speak of that, but they live that way, and it's better
Right.
because that way they don't have the problems of everyday life, but they still have the pleasure of talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's the way they live. So they live the way they want. Some people, it's just a choice. If someone wants, and you can live in a virtual world and marry a real person. Like suppose you have this meeting thing and you meet a person in this virtual living room, so you're not taking the risk, of meeting someone bad in real life. And then when you get used to the person, then you go to the restaurant in real life and you get married. There's all sorts of combinations.
Yeah.
It's not just black white, it's just life. So someone wants to live in the virtual world, they're doing it already. Because in video games, I'm a gamer for right now. I've been developing so much for a publication. I'm not playing, but I'm part of, I'm a half breed. I'm half of the geek world and I'm half of the real world. When I'm in the geek world, I'm very happy. You can put your headphones on, you can go to virtual places, you can talk, you can play with a lot of people. You don't need, you can live there and you don't even have to leave your couch. You can order food, you can watch movies, you can watch concerts, you can do sports right on there, imaginary sports with your Nintendo. So if you want to do that, you can do that. For me, I'd like to do that a few hours a day, and then I like to go out because I live in Paris and here in the country, where I'm just 2 minutes from the country. I go for a walk.
Wow.
I like both, but some
Yeah.
people don't. It's just a choice. It's a freedom. I mean, if you want to live in a virtual world, go ahead. If you want to get married with your computer, go ahead. I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah, I understand. And when you're thinking about like going
Even
back to the
even if a
work.
person wants to use a computer as a therapist and feels better, why not? I wouldn't do it, but why not? If you want to talk to the therapist and you feel better because you don't want to talk about something that very bad that happened to you, and you feel that you can talk to this machine that won't repeat it or won't record it, you might even feel more comfortable saying something terrible that happened to you to that therapist, to that artificial therapist, and you might just feel better because it will repeat things it learned from other patients, and you just feel better. Why not? I mean, it's why not? I
Yeah,
wouldn't do it, but why not? I wouldn't tell anyone not to do it. I would say, okay, if you feel better, do it. It's life. I mean, as long as you're not doing something harmful with it, like killing people or giving advice on how to commit suicide. I mean, as long as it's normal life, why not? I don't
yeah.
mind.
So you're saying like it's part of change in general, the fact that people would sometimes be there, or that the fact that the workforce would change, it's the same as it's changed when the
Sure, you can
car
even,
came
yeah,
into
push it even
reality.
further. Today we're going towards a genderless world. Well, people
Hmm.
think, I want to be a woman, I want to be a man, whatever you want to be. Okay, take that. You can take it from two directions. An old direction saying, oh, that's not good because the Bible or the Quran or whatever says there's a man, there's a woman. These people don't, but they don't feel that way. Now think about avatars. So someone can be an executive during the day, the real male going to work. In the evening, he can be an avatar and genderless and be all kinds of genders in the imaginary world and be himself. Maybe he'll be himself more in this imaginary world than he can be in the real world, where he can't be what he wants to be because he'll get social discrimination. So maybe all night he's just a woman all night and he feels great about it. Then he goes to his office the next day and he's a man, but he thinks about it, he feels good. So we don't know. We're just little pieces of nothing. We don't know. We don't know what's
Yeah,
good. The only thing I would say is just be careful. That's all.
yeah,
Just like when you eat too much food or stuff like that, just be careful.
yeah. I understand what you're saying, but what comes to my mind is like we're humans, and humans need something in order to be, I know, healthy, in a good mindset, in a good mood, in a good health, physical, mentally. And it seems that because we are going all the way to the direction of, as you mentioned, like going to the virtual world, living more or less there, more people are going to live there. Youth are like into gaming hours a day, and it seems that humanity is not getting so much happier or more joyful or more content. And it's a direction that, for me, I have 4 kids and I always think about their future. Like, I'm like, let's say I'm done now, let's think about like 20, 30 years from now. And for them, it seems like it's not that obvious that sometimes you need to meet a person and really, see him, and you just sit together and talk, like these things that maybe are common for me and not for them. Or, I know, go outside and, I know, play something,
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that.
but take it from first. We use the word humanity. Who says humanity does that? If you go to Ghana or go to Rwanda, you're going to find villages. This conversation means nothing to them. They still have to walk 20 miles to go get water. And so we're not speaking about humanity. We're speaking about the richer humanity, people that can afford
Western
computers, that
world.
have internet, that have electricity, that have time to do all that. So it's just part of the world. It's not humanity. And
Hmm.
what is humanity? Because you go back, everyone, you go back to virtual. Speaking about virtual, what about Neolithic? We used to be hunters. And we used to be just gatherers. We would just wander from one place to another and gather some fruit and then kill some people, eat them, because we didn't know in the early days that we're not supposed to eat each
Yeah.
other. So, well, we'd kill them. He tastes good. I'll eat him. So we were just living like that. In
Mhm.
what? Because what is the real world? The real world 50,000 years or 60,000 years ago is something we maybe were just dreaming of, but we were cannibals, and we were. Why do we have these teeth like that? These teeth we have are not just, just to go to the dentist and have nice smiles. These teeth were to eat meat and eat people. And then we found, no, maybe we should bury these people. That was virtual. Now we have to bury someone. Well, why do we have to bury someone? Well, you're not supposed to eat people. And you have to tell your children, your 4 children, stop eating. Don't eat kimby in it. You're not supposed to eat kimby. We're supposed to bury him. Mommy, why can't we eat him? You're not supposed to eat people. I tell you, we're burying him. I don't understand. There's something up there. There's something up there, and that something up there doesn't want us to eat him. That's virtual. We're just so it's extremely virtual because you don't see animals burying other. So that's virtual. And then we say, well, let's stop living like that. Let's live in a village. What's a village? A village is a place where you don't move around anymore. Oh, that's not the real world anymore. So what is the real world? What is
Yeah.
virtual and not virtual in the real world? We've been in a virtual thing since someone buried someone else and said there's something up there. You're not supposed to eat them. You're supposed to bury them. That's extremely virtual. And
Yeah.
then another thing, that's one aspect. Another thing is we've suffered a lot. We
Mhm.
have gone through ice ages, heat waves. We have post-traumatic stress. Every single human being on this planet has post-traumatic stress of nature because nature was not our friend before. It's just recently that nature has become our friend. Before, nature was our enemy. And if we
Mhm.
walked in a forest, we could be eaten by bad animals that would eat us up. We didn't like nature. That's why we got into these villages and we want to go in that nature. And then we're thinking of years where there were bad weather. We didn't have food because we depended on the food that we were growing and we died of hunger. So we didn't like nature that much. We just enjoy nature now that we don't depend on nature that much. So nature is just reminding us that nature exists, and
Yeah.
it's coming back again with climate change. So we're a very troubled species. We suffered a lot, and we have post-traumatic stress, which makes us both nice and violent, good and bad. That's why we don't have this maturity. That's why we use nuclear energy for bombs or to cure people. We're in a bad. We're not mature. If we were mature, there would be no wars. Okay, we would
Yeah.
say it's a waste of time and money and energy. We're not mature yet. Humanity, we're just overrating ourselves all the time. We're people that suffer
Yeah.
a lot. We have post-traumatic stress. We're living in virtuality because we're afraid of everything that's around us. But that's not part of mainstream thinking. You have to go to philosophy class to find this out. That's why we're coming back to the beginning of the conversation. If you want to go deep in AI, understand the billions of messages you're looking at, well, you should know something about philosophy, history, sociology, and we'll
Yeah.
find out there's nothing new out here.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, and we're almost done with time. So I had another question, but it's related to what we started with. So let's keep that. Like, how do you see the future? Like going like 20, 30 years from now, the future of humanity with AI.
Okay, so let's cut this sentence in two. How do you see the future?
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing first thing you can say is nobody sees the future. There's no such thing. Every time I get a post at, what do you see in the future? And then sometimes I got trapped in this before, but I've been thinking a lot because I got this question maybe 100 times. We don't know the future. Who knew in 1910 that there will be the First World War? Who knew in 1930 what would happen in 1940? Who knew in June 2008 that there would be a crash on the stock market in September 2008? And how many people lost billions? Who knew that there would be a war in Ukraine? No one believed it. Who believed that 50 years or hundreds of, no, 1,000 years later, the Middle East is still unstable? I mean, go
Yeah.
tell a farmer 4,000 years ago, in 4,000 years, we're so dumb, we're going to still be killing each other because I don't like you and I don't like you. Well, you'll see in 4,000 years, we'll still be fighting. No one would believe you. Say, you crazy? One day our children won't fight anymore. This will be over. No
Yeah.
one can say what the future will be, whether you're a billionaire or you're the poor, because you don't know if we're going to have enough electricity. You don't know if we're going to have enough computer chips. You don't know if we're not going to, a billion people are going to die because of climate change. We have strictly no idea what's going to happen even in September. Like we're in June. Is there going to be a nuclear war between Russia and Ukraine? We don't know. This morning I was reading the news. They're discussing about this nuclear plant. They're going to blow up or not blow up. No, that's nuclear waste all over the world for years. So I don't know. The future is, I would say the future is what you want it to be. Go talk. The future is what you want to be. I mean, we'll survive. Maybe 8 billion people will be down to 1 million people, but humanity will survive. And biologically, in a few thousand years, humans will disappear because we always evolve into different species, so we won't be the same thing. Or there'll be transhumanism because people want to put chips in your mind and your brain. Who knows? We're so imaginative, and so we don't know anything. In fact, we don't even. And what are the questions? I always have fun asking this question. This is not a nice question. It's a philosophical question. I'll answer your question about the future if you tell me why I'm on Earth, where I'm going, if I'm going somewhere after, and what am I really doing here, and where is Earth in the universe right now? What is its exact position? Because we're going like 20,000 kilometers an hour with the sun going 50,000 kilometers. Is the universe expanding or contracting? Did the Big Bang exist? Why am I here? How was I born? Did I exist before? And those are the real questions. And those are the real questions that 50,000 years ago, someone very smart asked when he said, we're going to bury Kimba because there's something going on there. And I don't know what, but we're not going to eat these people anymore. We're going to bury them. Because something's fishy. There's something tricky. What am I doing here? So someone very smart 50,000 years ago say, what am I doing here? So these are the questions. If you want your children or you want to have a future, start asking yourself these questions and forget about, what pizza you're going to eat, or if AI is going to take over the world, or if humanity is going to go live on Mars. I mean, if humanity wants to go live on Mars, you can do it tomorrow. Just go to the Sahara Desert and dig a tunnel under the desert and live there. I mean, you don't have to go to Mars to live on a place where there's nothing. You can go to the Sahara Desert. There's a lot of room there. No one wants to go there. It's plenty of places. You can send these space people there and go live and these little things there and dig in. I'm sure there are a lot of rare minerals in the Sahara that you can dig up for mine. So I would say the future of humanity will be like the past of humanity, unknown.
Yeah. And it seems like you like it. Like it's like two parts, the fact that you don't know and you enjoy the unknowing part of it.
I
Which
would
is
say that
usually when you don't know, you're a bit like more anxious or worried, or you try to control it. And for me, it seems like you're enjoying the fact that you don't know.
you're a very rare person because you got to the core of my way of thinking is that it's so funny. It's so funny when I've worked with CEOs, I mean major corporate CEO and billionaires. I've worked with several billionaires, and I always have fun with this question. Sometimes I have 10 minutes for you. I've had this like 10, and then at the end of this kind of conversation, well, come and eat lunch with me because you're not talking like other people. I want to talk to you. So Dennis, what is the future? Where are we going? And I answer these questions. The guys say, wow, wow. Oh yeah, because I don't sleep that well, and I've been thinking about a lot of things these days because I'm pretty rich, but I don't care about money. There's one thing about billionaires, they don't know that money exists. So they say, yeah, but I'm not in good health and I'm getting older. So yeah, it's fun because it just takes away everything that's superficial. If you
Yeah,
go, that's how religions were born. I mean, you don't have to go into a doctrine. The thing is just to ask yourself that question, everything will disappear. What do you care about AI? What are you doing here? What are you doing there? What are you going to do tomorrow? What's your life? Are you going to be alive tomorrow? I remember a customer yelling at me. We became best friends after for maybe 20 years. But he came to my office and he was yelling at me. We're late. I want my software tomorrow morning. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to work all night and I'm going to deliver that software tomorrow morning at 9. Yeah, that's what I want. The question is, my friend, you're yelling so much, you might have a heart attack and you might not be there tomorrow morning when I deliver the software. Did you think of that? He says, well, I'm not yelling. Yeah. You're going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have a heart attack? Yeah, you're going to die. Well, I'm going to die? Yeah, you're not going to be there tomorrow morning if you continue like that, but I'll be there because I don't care. I'll develop your software. And that makes him think. So I think that the future, if you want to live really, ask yourself the real questions, everything else will disappear. I mean, spiritual life is not that dumb. Philosophy is not that dumb. I mean, it's interesting. You don't have to believe in anything, but you don't have to believe in anything, but you have to ask yourself the question. You can't just say, well, I don't believe, so I don't have to ask no. You don't believe. Well, ask yourself even more questions.
yeah, yeah. And this, you know what? It comes to my mind that, like, when I started my first degree, I had someone who in a lecture said that the much that you know more, that you know what you don't know, right? Is if
Right.
you know much little, you don't know what you don't know, right? If you're aware of all of the things, you're aware of all the unknowns that you don't know about, right?
Right.
And
There's this French writer called Marguerite Yourcenar, and she was one of the first. I think she was the first woman in the French Academy of Literature. I was reading her books when I was like 15. I just loved her books because she was already in this genderless writing and stuff like that. Because there's something, of course, there's something woke, but there's something fun about it. Is that you can be anything, It's so she was writing, and at one point in this book, she wrote exactly what you said. She says, "I know now. I know that I know what I don't know." I know that I'll never know what I don't know. It says, I know that I know that I don't know. And it's this mirrors of what we don't know. But you
yeah,
can go, you don't need education. I can take you to Chad, or I can take you to any African country. We can travel 20 miles from a main city. Any person living there will tell you that.
if they
Exactly my
don't know.
conversation. I don't know if we'll be alive next year. I don't know if where we are. There's a lot more maturity in countries because we think we're developed. We're developed in technology and commerce, but we're undeveloped in many aspects of real life. And if you go to India or 50, 100 miles from a city, or go to China, northern China, in a village where they don't even know where Beijing is, you're going to find people that will talk real life. So the future, to answer your question, is be yourself. Find yourself. Find
Yeah,
yourself. Be yourself. If you want to be in the meta, go in the meta. If you want to be genderless, be genderless. Have fun. Yeah, you really got you hit one of my core chords. If I don't have fun, I don't do it.
yeah, which is really important. Most people would say what I need to do or what I should do, and not really what is like really good for me, fun for me, valuable for me, important for me,
It's
brings me
it's
an
it's a
essence of.
little more complex because sometimes we don't have a choice. But I remember a pastor that spoke when Michael Jackson died, And he was there. Well, I admired Michael Jackson a lot. I mean, it was, for me, he was a genius in music. And this priest was there, a very small guy, even smaller than I am, because I'm small. So I was saying, he's really small. When someone's smaller than me, they're really small. And he was saying, I don't care what you are in life. If you are sweeping the streets, be the Mozart of sweeping the streets. That's what it's about. If you're you're picking up garbage, be the Mozart of garbage pickers. Be nice to people. Talk to the people when you meet them. I don't think it's what we do, it's how we do it. You can be a butcher living, or you can be anything, anywhere, and make it nice.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So we started with AI, and then we got into something which is like a more like a sort of philosophical way of
But that is
seeing things.
AI. If you spend like I'm spending right now like 10 hours a day because I'm working on a publication, I see millions and millions and millions of everything you write, mails, social media, sentiment analysis. And that's, you're going back to the first question, what do you need? Well, if you're going through all that, you need some philosophy, you need sociology, economics, you need all that to understand what's going on. Because I see all kinds of things that you don't see. I think because I'm a beta tester. I test stuff for open AI or Google. I use these and I see everything that's raw that will be filtered after. The human mind is something very fascinating. I can tell you that. You can go from incredibly hateful stuff to incredibly beautiful stuff. And to make sense of it, well, you need philosophy. You need to think back. That's so artificial intelligence is about understanding intelligence. So you need to understand other people, unless you just want to do simple things, which you can do.
Yeah, I had my previous guest mention that it's not really artificial. The fact that because artificial intelligence, it's actually intelligence. It's another way of seeing intelligence, but it is. This is what it is.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah, why not? Why not? You can think of it. Yeah, it's machine intelligence. The thing is, we didn't invent this term. Alan Turing wrote that article in 1950. And
Mm.
everyone's talking about the Turing test, but no one understands it. The purpose of the Turing test for Alan Turing was to say it's just a different kind of intelligence. Stop comparing humans to machines. But no one read the paper to the last page, so they just stopped at the first page. So
It
Alan
was a
Turing
long
said that
paper. I
it's
didn't read it.
1950, machine intelligence.
So
And
how long is it that people did not make?
maybe, yeah, it's maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 pages. Every time I have a doubt, I reread the article. I've read it, I don't know how many times.
Mm.
I haven't seen anything better than that article since nothing's been better than that article. Nothing's been better than him, by the way, in artificial intelligence. Nothing. No one has ever exceeded his vision because he saw he was there, and he invented with a group of people the first machines for decryption of German messages and all that. Okay, but I'm not going to get into politics again. But anyway, he invented those machines.
Mhm.
He just died too soon because of discrimination.
Mhm.
So, but the things he wrote, that article, read that article on machine intelligence or anything he wrote and anything he did. No one's exceeded that. He's the Mozart. But of course, since there was discrimination, he's been buried. It's better to have MIT
Yeah.
on top. It looks much better. Maybe
Yeah.
one day someone will go dig him up again, but he was fundamental.
Yeah. When you're talking about him, most people would say right now, if you mention a person in AI, they would mention Sam Altman. I guess that would be the first person that would come to most popular, like,
Yeah, but
I know,
no,
entities in here.
no. If you want to mention Transformers, go find the article. Attention is all you need. First of all,
Yeah, it
generative
started from
AI comes
Google
from
experts.
generative AI comes from large language models. Large language models go back to Transformers. Transformers is the attention all you need article of 2017. Dig up all the writers, find the main writer that didn't have that college degree, and it says, why do we do it that way? And let's do it another way. He is the genius.
Hmm. What's his name? You
I don't
remember?
know. I don't know.
Wow.
I
I'll
don't
look it
know.
up.
Yeah, look it up. Maybe I should look it up for another podcast. Yeah, but I don't want to mention that he doesn't have a college degree, because maybe he has a college degree now, and maybe he wasn't happy about it. So maybe he wouldn't be happy we would say that. But he
No,
wrote motor.
I think that actually, when we're thinking about someone who went to college, it means that he earned lots of information, but sometimes you need to unlearn some of the information in order to really understand some of the stuff. And people who did not go through this path of going and studying and going through the courses and having a first and second degree, so forth, they don't need to unlearn, which is much harder than learning, I think.
Yeah, but you can do
And
both at the same
therefore,
time. If
what?
you can do both at the same time. I'm a great fan of Descartes, the French philosopher, and Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher. And you put both together. Descartes is critical thinking. He just takes everything apart, says nothing is true around here except that I exist because I think. So the rest, I'll just throw everything away. And then Immanuel Kant comes along and he writes all these books, and then he writes one on enlightenment. And he says enlightenment can be summed up, in one sentence. Don't be let's see, and don't be a slave. Well, he doesn't use that term in German, but he said, don't be under the control of someone else. Enlightenment is being free of thinking anything you want. So you can go to college, and I was pretty lucky to go to the Sorbonne University, where the president first tell us, if you're here, because it's a long time ago, you didn't want to go to one of these fancy schools. You wanted to came here because you want critical thinking. So I'm opening all the classes to everyone. You can go to our college. You need your main degree, but you can go to any class you want and learn stuff. So I was lucky to
Wow.
be, in that generation. So critical thinking, that's the main. That's one of the leitmotifs of this conversation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
never go to yes or no, but just find all the possibilities. So
Right.
artificial intelligence. So no, if you're thinking artificial intelligence, you're thinking you're thinking Alan Turing, and you're thinking math. It's just math. And
Yeah.
one of the most brilliant people is Cédric Villani.
I didn't hear that name. Maybe in France is I
He
never heard
won
his name.
the 2011 Fields Medal in mathematics. Because
Mhm.
maybe you don't know this, but if you look at the list of mathematicians that got the field, France is about equal to United States with 1/5 of the population. I think France
Wow.
is number 2 because in high school, people are very bad in math here. They're extremely
In
bad.
Israel too.
We're terrible. Maybe the last in the OCD, but once you get to high levels, I mean, it's just historical math. You go centuries back and you find these top. He is about 10 times, I would say 1,000 times better in an AI than any of these people working in Facebook or anywhere. I mean, he can understand artificial intelligence, just anything in there in like 5 seconds. And the reason you don't hear about him because for him it's so simple that it's stupid. He doesn't even want to bother with it.
So what is he doing? He's not working on it?
He is not interested in it. It's just too.
Wow.
It's just too. Yeah, but if you spent a day with me, and I showed you the math that's in a transformer, you would say, that's what is that? I would say with high school math in a top high school. I mean, not a little high school, but I mean a top high school like Henri IV in Paris and all that, and just maybe 1 year college. You have all the math you need for artificial intelligence.
Wow. This is what
It's
you
a
think.
very low level of math, very, very low level. It's totally uninteresting for a mathematician. A real mathematician cannot be interested in artificial intelligence. It's not. It's really low level of math. But everyone brings it up because since they didn't learn math, they don't know what different calculus is. So it seems so. But calculus is something you learn the first year of college in mathematics. So it's very low level of mathematics, very low level.
Wow. Wow, I'm
And
very surprised that you're saying that. Like first, I don't come
well, ask a real
from
mathematician.
I'm asking you.
I'm not a real mathematician. That's why I'm good at artificial intelligence.
I see.
I'm proof. I'm the proof. I'm the proof that you don't need to be a super mathematician to do artificial intelligence, because basically I'm a computational linguist. So, math, it's the math is so easy that, of course, I'm pretty good at math, but I'm not a mathematician. I'm pretty good at math. I mean, I have a college level of math now after decades of doing this. But if I talk to a mathematician like Valin, I've already communicated with this level of mathematicians, and I've applied some of their theory. I'm like 10%. I've got congratulation messages, saying, "Oh, that's not bad." But the mathematician is talking to like a child. He's saying, "That's a good job, Dennis. You did a good job there." But no, anyone that tells you that artificial intelligence is super mathematics is out of his mind, or doesn't go to a real PhD researcher, okay, a researcher in the fundamental research of mathematics, people that are working on flows of the air and weather and stuff like that, and then I would show them the math that's inside of artificial intelligence. Say, I mean, that's artificial intelligence? Oh, that's dumb. There's nothing in there. It's empty. It's just
Wow.
learning. It's so simplistic. It's like I don't know. If I tell you every morning, what do? You get up. Once you get up, what do? You're gonna have breakfast, not breakfast, have a shower, not a shower, and go somewhere or not go somewhere. That's all. That's artificial intelligence. It's just
Really,
statistics.
I'm
It's just
really surprised by what you're saying. I have to say, like most people would say, it's so complex. Only the smartest people could understand it. You need to go to, to go and do statistics, data science, whatever.
but total, absolute nonsense. And I've proven this as so many times. Like my first book when I sold my company was Artificial Intelligence by Example.
Hmm.
And I said, people don't understand artificial intelligence, so they think it's very smart. So I wrote the book. Now listen very carefully. I tested it on my grandchildren. So my granddaughter was maybe 4 years old, and my grandson was 6 years old. And I ran all the programs in front of them on a TV. And I said, I want you to understand everything, the Markov decision process. I want you to understand all that, but I'm going to explain it to you in a very simple way. And I'm going to show you my program. So I explained it with little objects and glasses and stuff like that for children, just like with no theoretical vocabulary. And I showed them every program. And I reached the most complex program in chapter 11, which was a Markov decision process applied to scheduling, because basically I'm an SCM, a supply chain management AI expert.
Hmm.
And I had the most complex algorithm there I wrote in the book, and I had all these loads for transportation and all that. My grandson was 6 years old. He says, there's a mistake there. I said, where's the mistake? He says, see, you have A, B, C, D, E, and you said that everyone has to get the same thing, but D is always getting more than the others. So there's a mistake there. I said, sure. I go look in there. There's a bug. He found the bug. Why? Because a child immediately is a load balancer. You have 4 children.
Hmm.
Bake
I
a cake.
never ever thought about this. For me to study these things, for sure, not showing them anything like that. Maybe I should bring them to you. You teach them that.
They'd understand AI in 1 hour. You can
Wow.
teach them AI in a few seconds. You go and you bake a cake, and your children will fight to see who gets the most. No, he got more than I did. No, I got more than no. But he doesn't like that cake. But I'll give you another piece of cake. No, my daddy ate the cake. No, I want the cake. Everyone's fighting when you bake a cake that's a little too small, or some dishes, or you're not enough French fries, or not enough that. No, but why didn't I get? They're doing load balancing.
Yeah.
It's innate.
This
It's
part I know.
hardwired. It's load balancing. We're load balancing. So every human being has that. That is about, I don't know, 80% of an architecture of a computer system is load balancing. Any child understands that. And then you say, hey, can you tell me what your brother does every day? Yeah, he gets up. He's always late to go to school. He doesn't want to get dressed. So we have to yell at him to get him to dress. Then we have to drag him into the kitchen to eat. And then we drag him to school because he'd rather stay home. That's a pattern. That's a pattern. That's all artificial does. It's learn patterns. And then the other pattern, another pattern. So now you have 80% of AI in these two little examples. And then you can go and you show them. I invented little games for the Markov decision process that looks a bit like, a stupid game. It's extremely stupid because we're extremely repetitive.
Yeah, you could say that you could predict behaviors
Anybody, anything.
Mhm.
The minute you wake up, you know what your husband's going to say just looking at him.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
So we're predictable. Once you're predictable, AI becomes so simple. And AI reaches its limits for unpredictable things, but there's no good level math in there. Of course, I'm exaggerating. There are some aspects that are complex, but since I like math, any good mathematician will be able to break down anything complex into something extremely simple that any 5-year-old child can understand. And only mathematicians that don't understand math or that cannot do that. That's one way you can distinguish a good mathematician from a poor mathematician. If he
Yeah, I
can't
think that
explain
that
a
Einstein
theory,
said that, right?
if he can't
That
explain the theory of relativity to you with two simple examples, he doesn't understand it.
yeah, I think that I'm not sure, but it's a quote from Einstein saying that if you really understand something, you could explain it in a
I,
very simple
I
way,
didn't
something
invent
like that.
anything. I didn't invent this sentence. I mean, this goes back centuries. I mean, this probably goes back to a Greek mathematician or to Aristotle talking to a student and saying, listen, if you can't explain it, you don't know it. And then you go back to Socrates and you go to Plato and he says, you know what? I'm going to take the servant here and I'm going to talk to him and he'll know everything. This is Greek philosophy. It's in French, it's called maïotique. It means you just talk to someone and by asking him questions, he'll get there. And that was one of my main ways of talking to my employees when I was talking to people. I would never give them the answer. I was always asking them questions and questions and questions. And then, until they say, I see, it's in you.
Yeah,
Everything in AI is in you. There's nothing. If someone can't do that, then he doesn't understand it.
yeah. So I have my last question to you, which is like this episode in general. What I'm doing is like aimed for product people, entrepreneurs, people who are doing like business in tech. And I would ask you, what's your number one tip for AI entrepreneurs today?
Number one tip for AI.
Yeah, someone who's going to build something in AI.
Well, there are different angles, but if I use the angle I started with my first customer is go to the customer, go to the market and spend time understanding it. Forget about software. First, go understand extremely deeply what's going on for this topic, whatever it is. And once you understand that topic, then you can go back and build software. But first, forget about computers. Try to understand really what's going on physically. And if you do that and then you understand the subject, then you're good. Like I worked in supply chains. So I followed thread coming from Japan to the company in France that was processing it, then the trucks that drove it to another textile company, then the company that would do the weaving or the knitting, then the other one company that would do the cloth, then take it to the distributor, back to the shops, back to the thread. And that's how I did it physically. And that's how I became a supply chain expert. And after that, writing software is very easy because you have all the tools, you have all the assistants, you have all the generative AI that can help you write the code. But if you understand something that deeply, you'll be an expert, and people will look to you and they ask you questions, and that's how you will evolve, because the tools are very easy to build nowadays.
Right. Like I loved your answer, especially because it's what's what I'm doing. I'm not coming from coding or technology or math. What I'm doing is really understanding the end customer, end users, the human side of technology, and helping people build product based on that understanding. And what you just mentioned is my part of the tech industry in general, because this is all I know how to do. I don't know how to do the technology part. It's
You
like
don't
I'm
need to.
working with people who's doing that.
You don't need to anymore, because you can go to like Google Vertex AI and you can build a whole application just by doing clicks. You don't need to know anything. You're on the right
Yeah,
end. You're on the right end of the future.
I hope. I know we'll see that. Maybe we should schedule another talk and we think about it, that too.
So anyway, thanks for inviting me, and say
Thank you.
hello to your family.
It's been lots of fun talking to you, insightful and interesting and surprising. Many of the people that I talk to, they're interesting and I enjoy talking to them. But you've been very surprising for me because I said, okay, this person, he wrote all these books, is going to really understand the details of like the technology, that we'll discuss technology to the details. And it was much more interesting for me to talk to you. So thank you for your time,
Because
Dennis.
technology is not about technology.
Right.
It's about how you think. It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah. So
Okay,
thank you, Dennis. It's been
thank
a pleasure
you,
talking to you.
and have a nice day.
Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm Adima Zoukario, and you've been listening to the Invincible Innovation Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, invincibleinnovation.com, where you can learn more about our programs and my book, Innovating Through Chaos. I'll be waiting for you next week in our next episode. Thank you for listening.